Sorry? Yeah, just before COVID. And then
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 22nd, 2024 License Commission meeting. Secretary Pyer, has the meeting been posted?
it has.
Roll call, please.
Commission Chair Howe,
Here.
Commissioner Krieger,
Here.
Commissioner Donahue,
Here.
Commissioner Mercier,
Here.
Commissioner Tang,
Here.
5 present, none absent. 0th is the acceptance of the August 8th.
Move approval. Second.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Application by Stanley Tabby for 2 special one-day licenses to sell, dispense malt beverages and wines. The first for Saturday, August 24th, and the second for Saturday, September 14th, 2024, both from 8 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. at the Hellenic Center, 41 Broadway Street. Stanley's joining us on Zoom.
Hello, good evening, fellow commissioners. My name is Stanley Tabby.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, and hope same for you.
Can you please tell us about your event?
Yes, so both events are for celebration of life. The first is on Saturday, the 24th August, for my relative, Margaret Array, who passed 2 months back, and so we're doing a celebration of life for her, in her honor. And so we're seeking a one-day special permit to serve beer and wine between the hours of 8:30 and 12:30. And the second one is also for one of our community leaders, Michael Echu, who also passed on in April. And so we're also celebrating his life on September the 14th. So we're hoping to get 3 bartenders for each, with a crowd size of between 300 and 320 for both events.
And will those 3 bartenders be tip certified?
Yes, that is correct.
And you've held this license before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Questions or comments from the board? Motion to approve by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good luck with your event, Stanley.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application by Pauline Minch, St. Michael's Parish, for a special one-day license to sell, dispense malt beverages and wines for a St. Michael Parish auction on Friday, September 27th, 2024, from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at 12 6th Street. That's a slight correction from all alcohol to beer and wine, and it is the parish, not the school.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Pauline Minch.
And you've held this license before?
I have.
Yes. Questions or comments from the board?
I'll move approval. Just going to ask, you have tip certified bartenders,
Yes.
and how many do you expect?
Bartenders?
No, how many people do you expect?
100. About 100.
Okay. Second the motion.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mercier, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Pauline. Good luck with the event.
Thank you.
Applications for public amusement licenses for Carnival by John Flynn of Fiesta Shows at Regatta Field, 381 to 501 Pawtucket Boulevard, Friday, September 20th through Sunday, September 29th, 2024. Hours for all dates are 1 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Flynn, I'm the Executive Vice President of Dean & Flynn, doing business as Fiesta Shows. Here before you tonight to request our second event over at Regatta Field. The layout and everything will be exact duplicate of what was there this spring. And naturally, upon your consideration and approval, then police details will be arranged for fire details and building and electrical and health inspections, along with the state inspection.
Excellent. Questions from the board? Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah. How did parking work out the last time?
We're a little concerned about it, but it actually worked out very well because at the last time there was actually the big regatta going on across the street. But between our opening hours and when the regatta ended, I checked with Rod, the state rep, because that was his district, to see if we impacted anything in terms of parking, and he thought everything went smoothly. But yes, it was a bit of a challenge.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Motion to approve by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you for coming in. Good luck with the event.
Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.
Application by Patrick Fitzgibbons, Aramark, for a special one-day license to sell, dispense malt beverages and wines for a research symposium on artificial intelligence from 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th, 2024 at University Crossing, 220 Pawtucket Street.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Patrick Fitzgibbons.
Is AI going to destroy the world?
It's a good question.
Is that what you're researching?
That's not my project.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Donahue, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thanks, Patrick. Good luck with your event.
Thank you. Good.
Application by Daniel Sese for a special one-day license to sell, dispense wines and malt beverages only for a movie premiere from 7 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. on Saturday, August 31st, 2024 at the Hellenic Center, 41 Broadway Street. Daniel's joining us on Zoom. Say hi, Daniel.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, good evening. Please state your name.
My name is Daniel Sisse.
And Daniel, why don't you tell us about your event? Approximately how many people will be attending?
Approximately 150.
And how many bartenders do you have lined up?
I have four bartenders.
4 bartenders, that's
But-
good.
Yeah.
Better
40.
ratio than the other one.
Yeah.
And are those bartenders all experienced in serving alcohol and certified?
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the board?
What's the movie?
It's something like a documentary that I made for my country, from where I come from, Sierra Leone, to just sensitize people about, stuff about our country.
Excellent, thank you. Motion to approve by Commissioner Tang, seconded by Commissioner Mercier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thanks, Daniel. Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Application by Shrey Ning for a special events permit for amplified outdoor public entertainment for live and recorded entertainment for the Center for Hope and Healing Back to School event to be held Thursday, August 29th, 2024 from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 15 Hurd Street.
Good evening, please state your name.
My name is Sray.
Will you tell us about your event?
Yeah, so the back to school event is happening next Thursday, the 29th from 3 to 6. And this event is for youth, parents, and also community providers to just come and connect with through community resource. And also we're going to give out school supplies like backpacks, and then also showcasing our youth mental health video.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just have one quick question. Can you tell me about the Center for Hope and Healing? I noticed it a few weeks ago on Hurd Street, taking over the whole building, the bank.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're basically a nonprofit organizations that here to basically support survivors who have experience with sexual violence. So that looks like offering a one-on-one counseling support group, 24-hour hotline, and all of these services all free of charge. And we usually go out in community to do outreach and share a resource about to youth and talk about healthy relationships, consent, healthy boundaries. So we're just really outside the gaming community just to do outreach and just share our information.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Motion to approve by Commissioner Donahue, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. You're all set. Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application to transfer a second-hand motor vehicles used car dealer Class 2 license for Remix Auto Corporation. Stephane Race Felix, President, for premises at 511 Middlesex Street.
Is Mr. Felix here?
I do not see her.
Ms. Felix?
And put this to the end.
Yes.
Okay. Violation hearing regarding a communication from Gregory Hooden, Superintendent of Police, dated August 5th, 2024, regarding allegations of misconduct charged against the Middle Street Village Incorporated, doing business as The Village Smokehouse, 98 Middle Street, Alan Kaplan, License Manager, All Alcoholic Beverages Restaurant Licensee. Allegations of misconduct occurred August 3rd, 2024, regarding failure to comply with all laws and regulations, including access to premises by police and agents.
It's my understanding the applicant has an attorney, and the attorney requested a continuance, which was granted. And Councilor Wood, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Two things I wanted to mention. The first is concerning the requested continuance. I've spoken with Lowell PD. They do not oppose the requested continuance, but would like to note that the request that was made for the continuance was only sent yesterday evening, and that had the request been made sooner, the Lowell PD officers who were scheduled to testify here today, and I believe are in fact present to testify today, would have been able to be rescheduled, and instead the Lowell Police Department will likely have to pay them overtime for the time that they are spent here. And so Lowell PD would just like to caution for any licensee that might have a violation hearing coming up, if you require a continuance, the sooner you request it, the better, so that we avoid having to pay additional money to the taxpayers. The second issue is that I learned in preparing for this upcoming violation hearing that counsel for Smokehouse contacted one of the first assistant city solicitors for the law department, John McKenna, who is typically not affiliated with the work of the License Commission. And that during that communication, counsel sent an email essentially giving factual and legal arguments for why Smokehouse believed a violation had not occurred in this case. And before I go any further, let me just say that I don't believe that there was anything necessarily nefarious about the communication. It's my understanding that Solicitor McKenna and Smokehouse's counsel worked together on an unrelated matter several years ago concerning Smokehouse. But I do see two issues that are implicated here. And the first is, as I interpret the open meeting law, the License Commission is required to include that email in the public administrative record, because the commission is a quasi-administrative judicial body, and because it's a communication that discusses arguments about whether or not a violation occurred with the law department, which serves as an advisor for the License Commission. And so in that aspect, one of the things we'll be requesting is that one of the commissioners move to admit a copy of the email, which I do have with me today, into the public administrative record. And the second concern that I have is more of a functional one, which is typically a communication from an attorney for a licensee is outside of the norm. And so, the law department, its function is to serve as an advisor to the commission. We advise the commission on the relevant legal standards, what the ABCC interprets certain statutes and regulations. And we don't direct the commission on how to vote. We don't direct the commission on what the sentences ultimately are. And so I think what is generally more appropriate is that if there is an issue, it contact the commission. So going forward, I don't want to create a precedent that permits other licensees through their counsel to essentially bypass the commission by contacting the law department, which isn't tasked with determining whether or not a violation occurred. And so with that, I would request that one of the commissioners make a motion to enter that specific email into the record. And if the commission has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Commissioner Donahue?
A couple of questions. One, and maybe this would be Secretary Pires might let us know. Did he file an appearance, a notice that he was going to be representing the smokehouse at all? Did he let you know?
The first communication I got was actually asking for a continuance. The first communication I got directly from him was that he was going to, requesting a continuance.
And that was, when was that dated?
It was dated the 21st. It was sent after 7 p.m. last night.
I may be able to add one other thing, which is I'm aware from my contact with Solicitor McKenna that this attorney was involved in the case since at least August 19th, so several days before then. And so that, when I cautioned that the sooner the better for requesting a continuance, that's why.
Second question is, in the email that he sent to you.
Yes.
Is there anything in that statement of confidentiality, a lawyer's statement, you know?
So there is a confidential flag, but here's what I would say to that. It's not the type of confidentiality that would be considered within the attorney-client communication. So for example, you know, Solicitor McKenna is not a client of counsel. This isn't a settlement discussion. So this isn't the type of thing that I would consider to be confidential. And by sending this communication, my concern is that we would not be complying with the open meeting law if this were not included with the record.
Okay. And probably the third one, before any motion's made, is, did he give you a new date? Did he recommend any dates?
Not in the communications that I received, no. What we would request is that the commission schedule another hearing as early as possible. And if council wants to make another request, I think we can take it up then.
He did suggest that that would be okay.
Okay.
Does anyone have a motion that was requested?
I'll make a motion that we accept the email.
Motion to accept the email as part of the open meeting record. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Krieger. Roll call?
Commissioner Howe,
Yes.
Commissioner Krieger,
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercier,
Yes.
Commissioner Tang.
Yes.
5 in favor.
I would like to respond to the issue of the continuance. None of us were pleased with the last-minute request for continuance, but Mr. Kelleher has a right to counsel, and the fact that the police are here and the city is paying them the money that they're owed, that is a small price to pay to protect Mr. Kelleher's right to have a counsel. The alternative for not continuing it and forcing him to have a hearing is, as we know, Travis Jacobs would be in Superior Court tomorrow filing a complaint and getting an injunction, and then the law department would be involved and we'd have another litigation. So this last-minute continuance, it doesn't happen often. I don't have a problem with it. Secondly, this afternoon, now, we're volunteers, right? We basically don't get paid.
Wait.
Well, $90 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get a long email from you, Attorney Wood, and it's only to me and it's only to Secretary Pyer, explaining everything that you've just put in the public record. Now, is that email to me, which I'm a volunteer, I've got a full-time job, if you have a problem with Attorney Jacobs contacting Attorney McKenna, what do we have to do with that? That should be addressed to Attorney McKenna, not to the License Commission. And secondly, is that email that you sent me, should that be entered into the open meeting record, or is that not part of the open meeting?
So two things in response. And number one, I don't have a problem with Solicitor McKenna. Solicitor McKenna immediately informed me of the communication, so there's no problem there. And I want to be clear, I don't have a problem with Attorney Jacobs. I've spoken with Attorney Jacobs. I think there was a misunderstanding. My concern is compliance with the open meeting law. In terms of whether my communication with you was something that has to be entered into the record, no. And that's because that communication was about what the law department would be expected to brief the commission about, and not about factual and legal arguments as to whether a specific license commission regulation or statute was violated. And that's the distinction. Of course, if any attorney wants to contact the law department concerning a pending matter, that of course is something that can happen. My concern with the communication was that it was a written communication in which factual and legal arguments were made about a pending violation.
And we agree with that. Just deal with Attorney McKenna, not us. Because this continuance should have taken 2 seconds on the record. And it's something that I take exception to. If someone needs a continuance, if Attorney Jacobs is in a car accident up here and the police are all here, we still have to pay them anyway. So I just wanted that on the record. I think we're good. Next item on the agenda.
Do we have to have a motion to reschedule?
Motion to reschedule to the September 12th hearing?
Yeah, so moved.
Continuance.
By Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries.
Violation hearing regarding a communication from Gregory Hooden, Superintendent of Police, dated August 6th, 2024, regarding allegations of misconduct charged against Blue Shamrock Incorporated, 105 Market Street. Nicholas Petrakos, License Manager, All Alcoholic Beverages Restaurant Licensee. Allegations of misconduct occurred August 2nd, 2024, regarding failure to comply with all laws and regulations, including Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34, regarding age limits.
Good evening. Please state your name.
Madam Chairperson, fellow commissioners, Attorney Michael Zame for Nicholas Petrakis, who's here to my right for the Blue Shamrock Inc.
Lieutenant Cormier, would you like to read the complaint into the record, please?
Good evening, Commissioner. I'd waive the reading if that would, if it's okay with you.
Does the commission have an opinion?
Waive.
Motion to waive? Waive? That's fine. Counsel, go ahead.
So I've received obviously the complaint. I received the reports that came along, that came with the complaints over to the board from the police department. I think that starting at the very beginning, when you read everything and you look at everything, there's a problem that we recognize. First, the problem is that the people at the Blue Shamrock, the staff at the front door, are taking identifications from each person that comes to the door. As I understand it, I have not seen these identifications, the fake IDs that were confiscated from some of the people. My understanding is that they are very high quality. They're Massachusetts IDs or driver's license and or Mass IDs. They're very high quality and they're very effective. And what I mean by effective is they are the person who is standing in front of them. It's their picture on the license or the ID. It's their information in terms of who they are. And not only that, is that the barcode will scan and it will pass the high-tech equipment that the Shamrock uses to detect these things, to combat that. So you have a situation, and I've spoken to Captain Peasley and I've spoken with Lieutenant Cormier, that they understand that this is a problem that these bars in the city and all over the Commonwealth are facing, all over the country. So that's one of the difficulties we have here, is that when you start to sift through the reports, I'll begin with Detective Fian, who encountered the individual that ran, okay, ultimately ran. So he encountered that individual inside the bar and started to have a conversation with him. During the conversation, that person was very, very evasive, wasn't cooperating, was real hinky, was trying to hide, I don't have an ID, I have an ID, this is my name. And there was all kinds of little hinkiness going on. And ultimately, when Detective Fian indicated to Detective Cruz, hey, you keep an eye on him for a second, I'm going to go get my computer that I can run him through the CJIS system and find out who he is and who he really is and things of that nature. The kid takes off running out the back door. A foot pursuit happens. They end up capturing him short distance away. He's placed under arrest. They search him. They find the fake ID. They find the real ID. It looks from what I could tell from the reports that he was, I think, 20 years old. He was born in 2003, hadn't turned 21 yet. The reason he ran, I believe the report indicates he may have been on probation, and that was one of the reasons he ran. But again, there's a high quality ID. And Detective Fian points out, I know the staff at the Shamrock is checking people coming in the door. So they're getting, the technology out there is beating the technology that Mr. Petrakis has. He's since researched and he's trying to come up with and trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to be able to counteract what they're doing on the dark side, if you will. Come up with the next one was, I believe, Detective Elmore observed two women standing at the bar. He approached them, started to talk to them, have a conversation with them. At that point, during that conversation, one claimed not to have an ID at all. One said, and gave a false ID. Interestingly, these two young ladies were taken outside and they were told to go on their way. Lo and behold, they didn't go home. They went to another bar, tried to get over there. Having not learned their lesson, they came back to the Blue Shamrock the next night. Came in like nothing happened the night before. And the doorman looked at him and said, "What are you guys, crazy? Get out of here. You can't come in here." He goes, "Yeah, but they didn't take our fake IDs. We still have them." So he's like, "Yeah, but you can't come in." Okay? And I believe there was one other person that, again, same scenario, who, again, was 20 years old, had a fake ID. And again, I just point to Mr. Petrakis is doing what his due diligence, if you will. There is a statute that allows for, if someone reasonably relies on an ID that is not an accurate or is a fake ID, that gives him, and it's an exception to being punished for having someone who's underage in the business. He's done what he's supposed to do. He didn't intentionally, he didn't knowingly serve, he didn't knowingly furnish. He relied on something that was a high quality fake ID. And that seems to be what's happened here.
Do you know if that evening the police officer, the arresting officer here?
I believe both Detective Elmore and Fian are here.
Oh, great. I have questions. Please state your name.
Detective Thomas Fian.
Hi, Detective. Thank you for being here. So question I have is, when you saw the fake IDs, did Mr. Petrakis say that these were checked and they were scanned and they passed the scan? Was that said that night?
Upon getting to the establishment, we talked to the two individuals collecting IDs at the door. That's when we learned, hey, what are you guys doing here? You guys checking IDs? How many people are here? And we just kind of start with the compliance at that point. And they said, yeah, they were checking IDs, and we observed them checking IDs as people were going in upon arrival. And then, we entered the building, started doing our compliance checks at that point. And me, in my incident, again, approached the individual, and as the attorney stated, he was being evasive and all the facts that we went over and ended up going for a run. We made the arrest out in the street.
Did you catch him?
I did not. No, that was a much younger
Impressive.
detective.
Yeah.
Chased him down. Yeah, we made the arrest out in the street at that point, and then took the ID as evidence at that point.
Do you have the IDs?
They're in evidence now. Okay. He was ended up criminally charged, so they're in evidence.
And is there
waiting.
a way, like, you're maybe Lieutenant Cormier, are these machines being overrun and tricked by these new IDs?
I'm not sure if the technology is always, leaps and bounds so it's hard to keep up with it. I'm not sure what type of machine they were using, if they were using an actual standalone machine to scan it, or if it was an app on a handheld device. I'm not familiar with exactly what type of device they were using.
Counsel, could you let us know what's the type of device that was used?
Mr. Petrakis can come up. It's an app.
Please state your name.
Nick Petrakis.
Thank you. What's the type of device that was used?
The devices we're using now are apps on the phones, but they were recommended to me by both local law enforcement. They said, hey, here's what we see people using. You know what I mean? You might want to try this. Got it right away. And they've also been recommended to me by the state. Like I talked to an ABC guy, and he said, you might want to try this. He goes, I can't tell you it's 100%, but whatever. So that's what we did. So, you know what I mean? We went right to that. Now we're looking into something that will actually, I used to have it a long time ago, will actually take a picture. So in case someone comes in and says, oh no, no one showed me anything. I just walked in, or I showed them this or whatever, we'll be able to match up if the police come in. This is what we're doing now. Hopefully we'll have it, you know, if not this weekend, next weekend, to show if Joe so-and-so comes in or Bob so-and-so comes in. Oh no, I just walked in without anybody, you know, whatever. It'll actually match up and show what he showed. So right now, in answer to your question, sorry, I know that was long-winded. It's an app that's on the phone that was recommended to me by both local and state.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Lieutenant, do you have any knowledge of those apps or the specific app?
I do not. I haven't been trained in it. I haven't seen one firsthand as of yet.
And one other question I have, so the IDs that are in evidence, were the photos actually the photos of the people, or were they completely different people? Oh, please state your name.
Good evening, Detective Connor Elmore.
Thanks, Detective. So you heard,
Yes, your question relative to the IDs. As Attorney Zames said, the IDs that we're seeing that are the false Massachusetts IDs, they are the same person's picture. Oftentimes they're their same address, whether it's, you know, Chandler Road in Tewksbury, we just saw one. It's the exact same address that is on their true identity, their same picture. Their date of birth is often just altered by enough years to get them over the age of 21. They have the holograms, they have, you know, the stipples of the outline of the state of Massachusetts, so they do bear significance to a real Massachusetts ID. We have tested the Blue Shamrocks app. At one point, we seized what was determined to be a fake ID. We used, as Attorney Zames said, CJIS. We'll be in there with our iPads, and we can query their license information through the RMV. Obviously, that will come back with their true identity, their true information. We then took one that was determined to be false, used the app that, you know, they've been recommended to use, and it did actually pass their app being a fake ID. So.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Krieger?
Yes. One more question, sir. I thought the report said that one of the IDs did not look like the person herself.
There was one, a female that was mentioned, one of the first two females on the night in question that we're here on tonight. She did use a ID of a different person, similar race and hair color, but a different female.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Donahue?
When you went into the bar and you went and you looked and you said, let's check these two young ladies, why did you pick them out? My idea is they must have looked pretty young and they must have been suspicious in some way that you would want to question them.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. When we go in, either it's someone that, you know, I believe or we believe appears to be under the age, someone that may immediately put down a drink and look as though they're nervous, you know, begin to move through the establishment away from us. A litany of things that could kind of trigger a response from us.
So in this case, you were picking out kids that looked to be underage. And you are aware that there are fake IDs all over the city and all over the state.
Yes.
That's my concern, that maybe bars have to be more discerning and turning away people that they feel they have false IDs. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Speak
Yes.
to your attorney.
To address Chairman, Commissioner Donahue's point, is that the two, and again, I have the redacted reports, I don't know what their actual dates of birth are. The two women were 20 years old.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't like they were close in age to 20. And one of the things that one of the articles I was reading from that was put out under by the Homeland Security group about false identifications and some of the difficulties you'll run into is that when kids get their license, they may be 17 or 18 years old when they got the license. So the photograph on the license may look a lot younger than they actually appear the night that you're seeing them 2 or 3 years later. One of the, and again, and I've had this discussion with the Captain Peasley and Lieutenant Cormier and Lieutenant Coyle, that, what is the solution? How I mean, Nick doesn't want, Mr. Petrarcas doesn't want, someone, an underage person or any person for that matter, to be in his place, to get served alcohol, to leave that establishment, and to go out and get hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. Nobody wants that. Clearly, the police don't want that. This commission doesn't want that. Nobody wants that. He's trying to do the best he can with the equipment that he has, trying to combat what they have on the other side. These two girls that Detective Elmore had the interaction with, and I believe one of the, kind of the threat of, hey, listen, if you don't come clean with us, we're gonna place you under arrest. And that's when they kind of fessed up. And to Commissioner Krieger's point is that the ID that may not have looked like that person, we don't know that was an expired ID, but we don't know that was the same one that she presented when she came in the door. This is the same girls that came back the next night telling us that, or telling the people there that they hadn't, they didn't take the IDs they didn't take the IDs off them the night before. So they still had the fake IDs that they reportedly, we suspect that they used the night before. Arresting these kids, the ramifications of that for these kids, and that, there's the criminal side of it, that they would be charged criminally, have to go to court, face that. They'd perhaps face some ramifications with the registry of motor vehicles for altering the ID, things like that, so that creates a problem. One of the things most people don't realize is that if you have a conviction for falsifying an identification, you're prohibited from getting a passport. So now you can't travel out of the country because of that. Now, my mother might be watching, so the IDs have come a long way, so I don't want to say that, but come a long way since I saw my brother changing my, taking and trying to change my license to use so he could go out back in the day. So it's something that we know what happens, Nick knows it happens, the police know it happens, and so how do you fight it? He doesn't want them in here. He's not happy to be here, to have to pay me to come in here and to represent him. This is something that he's a very proud owner. He's been in business for 30 years. He doesn't want to be here in front of the License Commission for something bad or some allegations of misconduct. It troubles him. He loses sleep over it. And trust me, he loses sleep over it. He doesn't want that reputation. So the problem we have here is that how do we combat this problem? How does he do it better? That's what he wants. Since this happened, I believe it was August 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, August 2nd and 3rd. We've done 3 of our own internal tests where we sent somebody, an underage person, one with a passport, one with a driver's license. They were real license, real, but underage. See if they get caught. We also sent somebody with a test, and this is some of the information that I had, that one of the person you could take, if you went up with some money behind the license and handed it to the guy would let you through. It was clear from the test that we ran that it wasn't, this guy was like, what the hell's this? Like, basically, get out of here. So we've done these things to try to test it. But again, like I said, is that he's got beat by the technology that's out there.
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Donahue?
I hate to put you on the spot, but you were talking about some chapter and section of the law. Do you know what it is
I do.
that you're saying?
I do. It's Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34B. And it is a defense to a proceeding for suspension or a liquor license violation if the licensee or agent or employee thereof reasonably relies on a liquor purchase identification card or a Massachusetts motor vehicle license for proof of a person's identity and age. And that's right from the statute.
And I would ask the solicitor, you concur with, I saw you shaking your head.
In part. Counsel is correct. General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34B. It does provide protections for licensees who reasonably rely on identifications. Two exceptions to that. The first is out-of-state licenses. That does not apply to. The second exception comes from the ABCC. The ABCC has, in subsequent disciplinary proceedings, interpreted that statute to say that a licensee is not entitled to rely on that defense if the underage person's ID was false or fraudulent. And I have 3 notices of decision to cite for that. Simra LLC, doing business as Amherst Market, a notice of decision dated November 7th, 2023. Quality Mart Inc., doing business as Quality Mart, dated January 23rd, 2024. Fenway Johnny's LLC, 9398 Brookline Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts. Notice of decision dated February 3rd, 2023. All 3 of those decisions, the ABCC nevertheless found a violation of the underage minor provision, notwithstanding the fact that the bar used scanners, that they relied upon the ID, and nevertheless found a violation. So the statute is certainly a relevant defense when it comes to assessing the degree of the sentence. That's appropriate. My point is only that if the commission finds that a fraudulent or false ID was used, then that is not a defense to finding that a violation occurred.
Say that again, please.
Sure. So the commission has 2 roles, right? The first is to find the violation occurred, and the second is to find, if so, should there be a sentence, and if so, how much? And so it is not a defense to whether or not a violation happened that the identifications were false and we reasonably relied on them. It is a defense to determining how much of the suspension there is, if that makes sense.
Counsel, you wanted to say?
I would just, and again, I think the general premise behind all of those cases is the reasonable reliance upon what was presented, not necessarily whether it was real or fake. But again, you look at the questions that the commissioner pointed to, is it, okay, was it that person or was it somebody that there's no way on earth anybody could mistake these 2 people for the same people? It wasn't even close. So the information, what you're relying on that's in front of you versus, is it reasonable to rely on that, or is there no way on earth that anyone should have accepted that? That's the conduct of the licensee or the intent of those cases.
Right, and I haven't read those cases, but I have to conclude that they're each fact-specific, and maybe the facts are that the person didn't look that, or it was an out-of-state license, and they had no reasonable reliance. So I'm sure there are cases where the ABCC found that the statute does apply, and there's no violation. So, Commissioner Krieger?
I thought that you couldn't use an out-of-state license. I thought I could use my Mass driver's license, I could use my federal ID card, but I could not use an out-of-state license.
And I would point out that there was no out-of-state.
I've got that point. I'm going back to this because, I mean, are you telling me that the ABCC sort of rewrote the rules after the general court passed them?
No. So that's the ABCC's interpretation of the text. So that's what the ABCC would say.
I have a question for Mr. Petrakis.
Yes, sir.
So, the police found 5 underage people, and maybe there were others that they didn't find. When you look at your books, can you do your business if there are no underage patrons in your business?
Absolutely. I have, but I'd like to say something else too. First of all, to Commissioner Donahue, I told my door guys because in regards to another meeting we had, you know what I mean, I tightened things up, if you remember, before the pandemic. So I do have them do the visual thing too. I'm like, look at this kid, but they're like, Nick, some of the guys have beards at like 16, and some of the girls, they go, we can tell the difference, a 5-year difference. We can't tell a 1-year difference. Because I was yelling at them, and like Councilor Zame said, I tried everything. I said, maybe they're paying money to get in, you know what I mean, or something, whatever. So we did it so that they would know, you know what I mean. We got, you know, people, whatever, with offered them $20, $40, which I was kind of confident that they wouldn't, because the guys I have, they're older guys with families. They wouldn't jeopardize me. They know I have a family. So I even tell them in there in regards to what Commissioner Dunn said, look, if you see someone, but even my bartenders who double check, they're just getting the same ID that the door guys are getting. And if they ask for a second form of ID, because the name and picture on the first ID is them, well, all their credit cards have the same name on it. So it's the first one that fools everyone. The other ones are pretty much useless because they just verify that that's the person in the picture. And in regards to Commissioner Krieger, like Attorney Zame said, the same 2 girls tried to come in, and I said to the door guy, how do you know that? He said, because there weren't a lot of, you know, there was maybe 70 people. He goes, and I saw the police officers escort the young ladies out, and they came back, and I wasn't at the door, but told me, they go, Nick, those 2 girls tried to get in here. I go, what 2? He said, the 2 they escorted out. And he said to them, what are you crazy? Didn't you have your IDs taken away last time? Weren't you using fake IDs? They said, one of them said, we gave up an ID. It's not the one we use. Which, I don't know, from what I hear, they pay $300, $500. I'm not really sure, but I know they pay a lot of money. And they don't just use them for Lowell. They use them to go, you know, Boston or who knows where else. And the other thing I just wanted to make a point of, we tried the hard, like instead of using an app, the actual equipment, they're not as efficient because you got to keep updating the software, and you have to update it almost every month, and that falls behind, whereas the app is more up to date, which is why it was recommended to me. So it's not like I was, you know, pinching pennies or something. I didn't think this was the utmost importance. They're like, you know, by the time you get the new, you know, software in to update it, then, you know what I mean, you're already behind, whereas the app will update it every day, you know, but still, so.
Thank you.
Anyways,
you.
I just
We're
wanted
good.
to, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Petrarca. Any other questions or comments from the board? Do we have a recommendation?
Pass it to the city council. Pass it to the city council and have them talk to the legislature. We have a huge problem here. I mean, what if we, by mistake, added ID to vote to state laws, and then we run into the same kind of thing? We're being overrun here.
Before I do anything, does the police want to say anything? I'm putting you on the spot.
Thank you. Well, given the information that we've heard here tonight, it's not an easy recommendation as to how to proceed. However, I do think possibly the addition of a additional government-issued ID may, and I'm not sure if that's practical or not, something that would be you know, less easy to obtain and falsify. Other than that, the only other solution that I can see is perhaps a zero tolerance on the criminal charging of the persons that are caught with the falsified IDs.
I have an opinion as to that every one of those kids should have been grabbed and booked that night and charged. I know, but when they get to the district court, they'll probably continue without a finding, and then they won't have a conviction, and, but, I have fears. What's coming up in the next couple of weeks is UMass Lowell kids are coming back. And we're going to have twice as many kids in the downtown when those first few weeks after school opens. How many kids are going to be in there that got their IDs or their fake IDs while they were home, for the summer? I have concerns about that. And I think that the police did a great job going in and looking after the situation. But I think Mr. Petrakis is trying, and at this point, I'll make a motion that it be placed on file, the charges be placed on file, and with the condition that they will be, that we will remember that he came, Attorney Zame, in here, and next time I think we'll have to look into it a little more deeply. I take both your representations of Chapter 138 and the solicitors. So I'm making that motion that we place these on file. I'm very concerned, though, that there were 3 separate groups in there, but they all had what looked like good IDs.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Yes, because I don't want this all to go away before we bring it up. We need for, I'm one who wants as little law as possible, but we need for someone to be looking into this beyond the License Commission. I don't know whose responsibility it is to move it forward. Maybe I'll write to my new city councilor and tell him about this. But I'm concerned about this as a larger issue, a systemic issue. But I second the motion.
Just briefly on the Lieutenant Cormier's comments about zero tolerance. I have a college roommate, and her daughter was arrested, goes to BC, was arrested in Brighton, and I had to hire a lawyer, paid thousands of dollars. And, maybe that's a deterrent for these kids. So I think the License Commission would agree that there should be a zero tolerance, that these minors should be arrested. That's my only comment. Do you want to have a roll call on the motion?
Okay, I was just going to say, if we're bringing in the the owners, and having them pay for a lawyer to defend themselves, I think the least we could do is not let the kids just waltz out the door. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Roll call on the motion?
Commission Chair Howe.
Yes.
Commissioner Krieger.
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercier.
Yes.
Commissioner Tang.
Yes.
5 in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Tang. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good evening, everyone.